Welcome to Just Ask Jason. I'm your host, Jason Atkinson, and I'm here to answer the questions that you have about today, specifically intermittent fasting. Before I jump into the questions, some of these are from online subscribers, some of these are from my in person and on demand clients. If you would like to become an on demand client, that's a very simple process. Go to direct.me/reshape. There's a link to that in the show notes, in the comments, or wherever you're watching or listening to this. Click Become a Client, and you can download the app, get a free 7-day trial. That way, you got a workout, a meal plan, some tools to track that with, a way to get some feedback with me as your coach, and become of our online community because we're doing some group challenges. Specifically, right now, we're doing the SUMMERSHRED challenge. This is your time to get fit for summer. You want to drop that last 10, 15, 20 pounds to really get dialed in for the beach or vacation or the pool or whatever you're going to do this year. This is your chance to do it. And the main tool that I'm focusing on in that respect is intermittent fasting. So I'm just going to dive right into the questions. The first one comes from Steven. He's one of our subscribers on Instagram. By the way, all of our social media is linked in as well at direct.me/reshape. And I invite you to become part of the online experience that way as well. So Stephen wants to know, what is the main difference between the various hour lengths of fasting? Is it more of what I can stick to, or is one better than the other, i.e. 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, etc.? Okay, great question. So yes, in a nutshell, what you're asking, it is more of what you can stick to. So before I give a lot of detail here, let me just define what intermittent fasting is. Intermittent fasting or fasting is a period of not eating. And technically, it's not really a dietary approach. It's more of a timing pattern, if you will. It deals with when to eat, not especially what to eat. Now, the way I use intermittent fasting and what I do with clients is to accelerate an energy deficit or calorie deficit in the case of a goal of weight loss or fat loss specifically. It's a great tool for that. The main defining feature is going to be what you can stick to. And what you have to keep in mind is, in addition to those different hour lengths that you mentioned, Stephen, there's also a consideration of the frequency of fasting. So just to give you an example, what I do is alternate day fasting this time of year. That means alternating days of regular eating pattern with days of intermittent fasting. As far as the different lengths, those two are somewhat interchangeable. This is the same principle that I use with clients when I'm discussing the training volume. Okay. So if you're going to train 6 days a week, you're not going to put in a whole lot of intensity. But if you're trying to train once or twice a week and you want to get a result from that, you're going to have to really step up your game when it comes to the amount of intensity that you're bringing to the workout. So with intermittent fasting, it's the same. If you're going to fast frequently, you're probably not going to want to fast as long. If you're only going to fast once or twice a week, you can probably stretch it out for a few more hours. But in the end, it is really more about what you can stick to, because that's the main obstacle that people run into with any kind of intervention is adherence. Is it something that you can actually do? Because it can look great on paper, but if you can't do it in the real world, it's not very valuable. So back to what I was talking about with the alternate day fasting protocol. My fasting days and what I'm doing with the group challenge right now, by the way, if you're a subscriber, if you're a member, this information is posted in the forum on the app. I posted it in the Reshape Your Life closed group as well on Facebook. So the schedule is there as to what days are fasting days. Of course, this is all optional. It's up to you. But if you're doing it as a group, it's more powerful that everyone is fasting on the same day so that you realize, hey, I'm not alone. There are some other people who are doing this with me. Okay. That's part of the purpose behind doing the group challenges. You're not alone. We're in your corner. So the fasting days are Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And of course, those fasts begin the night before. So going back to your question here about 8-10 hours, technically anything less than 12 hours is really not a fast. It takes 12 hours to get into a fasted state from your last meal. That's the post-absorptive period. So let's just say you eat at 8 p.m. You technically don't end up in a fasted state until 8 a.m. the following day. But 12 hours, you're still running through the meal. After that, now you're getting into fasting territory, which is you're extending your overnight fast into the next day. Basically, you're just postponing your first, second, maybe third meals of the day, depending on the length of the fast that you want to do. These are all less than 24 hours, by the way, and that's what makes the difference between an intermittent fast versus a full-blown fast of 24, 36, 48 hours, etc. That's long-term fasting. That's not something I do. It's not something I recommend. It's just not on my radar. It's not in my wheelhouse. So intermittent fasting, like I mentioned before, it's just a timing principle. So it's also not the primary intervention, and it's not the first thing that I talk to people about if they have goals of losing weight or getting in shape, just because it requires some understanding of how nutrition works. If your plan is, hey, I'm just not going to eat for 16 hours a day, and I'm going to put all my meals in an 8-hour window and just kind of keep eating the way I'm eating, that's probably not going to work out very well for you. So a better plan is to master eating first before you start fasting. But that being said, the low carb nutrition plan that I use segues very well into intermittent fasting. As a matter of fact, the very low carbohydrate or ketogenic diet, as it's known, or keto for short, is a type of fasting. It's a fasting mimicking diet. It's a way of eating that mimics the effects of fasting. Researchers figured all this stuff out when they were studying epileptic patients, and they found that these epileptic children are not having seizures if they're just avoiding carbohydrate. Well, some genius figured out that if you're not eating carbohydrate, you're also burning more fat as a result of it, and that can lead to burning more body fat. So once that association was made, this spread like wildfire, obviously, on the internet, enabled it, as well as books and, videos and podcasts and so forth. People became aware of fasting mimicking diet or ketogenic diet. So learn how to eat properly first, then you can fast. Fasting is something that you're just going to kind of layer on top of your existing diet. And the way I do that, and what I recommend to the group, you're doing your 5 meals a day frequency, high protein, low carb, 5 days a week, combined with 2 days of higher carbohydrate eating on the weekend. That's the baseline diet that you want to do year round if you're looking to be as lean and healthy as possible with as little sacrifice as possible. Then at specific times when you want to accelerate your calorie deficit to get really lean for something, you can start pulling away a little more of the meals in the low carb period during the week. Okay. So that's going to accelerate your calorie deficit. Now, all of this is predicated on the fact that you want to make a lifestyle out of this. It's another reason why I don't recommend intermittent fasting as primary intervention. It's not something that the general public is probably going to do long term, and that's all they're going to do, and that's going to solve the problem. It's just not going to solve the problem. A lot of people are not a candidate for intermittent fasting to begin with. If your problem is you're eating too much of the wrong types of things because you're eating frequently from the time you get up and you're snacking all day long, if that's you, putting your meals in a shorter window can help you to consume less junk food, okay, or less fattening type foods. That's, common sense type thing. If you're already only eating once or twice a day, which I find this is a case with a lot of new clients, you're not a candidate for intermittent fasting. You're already fasting. If you're already waking up in the morning, running on fumes all day, having 1 or 2 huge meals in the evening that are consisting of, questionable dietary choices, and that's your problem, that's the reason why you have excess body fat and low muscle mass, fasting is not going to help you. Okay. If your metabolism has already been slowed or damaged as a result of excessive calorie restriction or dieting over a long period of time, i.e., metabolic damage, I see a lot of that. you are not a candidate for intermittent fasting. You need to take a step back, learn how to eat properly, maybe even do a reverse diet where you gradually increase the amount of energy and nutrients that you're taking in so that your metabolism picks back up to where it's supposed to be before you damaged it. Then you put in some intermittent fasting. Now you're going to get a great result in terms of burning body fat without slowing your metabolism down. That's one of the advantages of intermittent fasting. You kind of sneak it off a little bit, okay? So compare intermittent fasting to just caloric restriction, just eating smaller meals, eating less carbs, eating less fat, or both, however you want to do it, whatever dietary style or principle that you're going to adhere to. You're doing that, and then you throw in a fasting day, or then, okay, so what I'm saying is fasting can work better than just reducing calories across the board. If you're still eating frequently, but you're not eating enough, you might be hungry, you might be irritable, you might suffer, negative effects from doing that can actually be relieved by doing intermittent fasting instead. Basically, what we're trying to do with intermittent fasting is just reduce calories. Okay. So you can do that, like I said, a couple different ways. You could do smaller meals more frequently, which I find is harder to adhere to. Going back to that principle I shared earlier, adherence is the number one obstacle. So if all you have to do is just skip a couple meals, that to me is not as difficult as eating exactly only this amount, weighing out, measuring every little thing. Maybe you're the type of person who enjoys that. Most people don't. Okay. So give yourself an advantage, throw in some fasting days. If you need an on ramp to this, start off with your 12, maybe 16 hours. Maybe you skip breakfast and you just do that one day a week. That's my baseline diet that I do year round. Is Sunday is reset day, because like I said, during the week is lower carbohydrate. Friday and Saturday are carb up days. Sunday is a buffer between those two phases that is like, okay, it's time to reset. It's time to get back on track for the coming week. It's a low calorie, low carb day, but it's also an intermittent fasting day to reset and shock the system, to have some difference from day to day. If you want an on ramp, you go from that once a week, you start doing twice a week, and you do that for at least 2 weeks. So Sunday and Thursday, for example, every 3 or 4 days is an intermittent fasting day. You're still doing your low carb days, you're still doing your high carb days, but you're layering this on top of it. Do that for 2 weeks. If you want to go to 3 days a week, like I suggested, alternating days every other day, do that for 3 weeks. If you're super ambitious and you want to do 4 days a week of intermittent fasting, just depending on the length of your fast, do that for a week maybe before you need a strategy to back out of it. And for my regular audience here, for my paid members, this is something I'm going to do for you, is teach you how to recover your metabolic reserve. After this summer shred is over, you can go back to a baseline diet without gaining body fat. If you go straight from fasting 3 or 4 days a week to just eating normally again, like 5 meals a day, you will gain body fat. That's what I was talking about earlier, was the reverse diet. That principle is used by fitness competitors, bodybuilders, and strength athletes after a competition where they want to come in super lean. They're dieted down for a show. They don't want to just go back to eating normally or eating an off-season type diet, because if you do, you will gain body fat because you have lowered your metabolic rate. Fasting